Chairman Eshun, thank you for always being concerned about my son. It's ironic because we're talking about drug pricing, and one thing that I had to point out that my son, he has to take a shot every week or every day, I'm sorry, and it costs about $4,900 a month now because of the interest.
Wow.
And sometimes the insurance pays, sometimes the insurance doesn't, and it's tough for my wife and I, much less thinking about with my son, who is 17 now, what he's going to do. I mean, when my wife and I got married, I was 19 and she was 18, and we were making $500 a week combined. I mean, we were just barely able to get by, and to just think you're going to literally handcuff someone like that. And so when we're talking about drug prices, I understand it. I get it. It's something real to us, and we're having to deal with it. But I still have a little bit of a hard time with HR 3. When you start thinking about HR 3, it's government takeover of healthcare, because when government gets into setting prices, then they are telling the manufacturers, which is a independent from the federal government. They're entrepreneurs. It's what the United States thrives on, not government takeover, but of entrepreneurship. When you start telling them how much they can charge, it does affect what they do and what they're willing to invest in, because they're going to be capped on what they're able to get reimbursed for. Whereas my opinion is we should be looking at what's prohibiting competition from coming into the market. What's prohibiting individuals from entering the market? Why are we seeing a consolidation of pharmaceutical companies? Because with more competition, we would see prices come down, because they're going to be competing for our pricing. They're going to be competing for our business. If you're talking about insulin, or you're talking about the shot that my son has to take every night, because there's only one manufacturer that makes my son's shot too. And so there's no market. It's either take it or leave it. Dr. Gupta, I hope I'm saying that right. I know we have all been using different names to get to, but Dr. Gupta, is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Congressman. Thank you.
Would you agree that innovation is the best way in the market to control pricing?
Well, I think that's exactly right, and I think there's a couple of different aspects to it. As I've mentioned, the value we get from good prescription drugs via pharmaceutical purchasing, in terms of improved health outcomes, is second to none. We have to remember that these drugs that we're talking about keep people out of the hospital, thereby saving overall healthcare costs. And I think that's an important point to remember. And I think, tying into, your comments just a moment ago, when these drugs go generic, when there is competition, we as a society save over $200 billion a year with $2 trillion a decade. And I think that's exactly the phenomenon that you were referring to.
So is it fair to say then that modernizing and recalibrating the natural price control, like the generic drug pricing, would help protect innovation and control pricing a little bit better then?
It would not just protect it, sir. It would actually stimulate it. The genericization of medicines is not only a natural price control; it actually stimulates innovative biopharma companies to develop new medicines. As an investor, that's a process that we support.
Right. I appreciate that. So, with government control in the market, do you feel like that really creates more burdensome regulations that would prohibit new companies from entering into the market then?
I think we can all agree that we should be limiting barriers to generic competitors. I think there's been good ideas posited on that. And I wanted to make a quick comment in this regard on biosimilars. I mean, I see evidence of successful biosimilar entry in the U.S. as well. Biosimilars for drugs such as Avastin and Herceptin now have 50% market share. The originator company in those cases have started to offer discounts, and that's natural price control in action.
Right. Well, listen, I appreciate your time, Chairwoman Eshun. Thank you for always being concerned. Thanks for bringing this together too, because I do agree with a lot of my colleagues. There is room here for us to work on, and I think this affects all of our lives, and there's a lot of opportunity. I really wish we had a more bipartisan approach. HR 3, I don't think we really had a whole lot of say in. It's almost been like the committee's going to take it or leave it. And this committee's had a history of working together. And ever since we've been on it, we've had a history of working together. And I know you want to work with us. I know there's other people across the aisle that wants to work with us. And so I hope this is the beginning of us actually looking for a solution to have HR3 work for all of us, Republicans and Democrats alike. So with that, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Mullin, and thank you for always sharing your story with us. The American people are tuned in to these hearings. I think they sometimes have a picture that is not quite accurate about individual members of Congress. The vulnerabilities in our families, what takes place in our lives. It's like holding a mirror up to the country. So I salute you for that.